Okay, everybody, it's the last day of the summer here at Nungbua Permaculture Farm. So I took a video at the very beginning of the summer, the very first day here, and I told you it was going to look very, very different. So, here it is. Ta-da! Okay, now if you follow me down this way, we will do an entire tour. I'm going to take you through all the systems, how they work, all that kind of stuff. So let's get going.
That's a good idea.
Okay, everybody, welcome to Zone 1 of our permaculture farm. So everything we're doing here is really about where we spend the most of our energy, and a lot of this stuff has to do with soil remediation. So just to kind of go through very quickly, this is our very large compost pile. When we first started the summer, this thing was enormous. So it's literally like all the way out to here. It's mainly straw, rice husk, and cow manure. And throughout the summer, we've been using that just to add organic matter to pretty much all parts of our farm. The general concept of composting is we're just taking raw organic materials, we are bringing them together, mixing them together, adding some water, putting a plastic tarp over it, and that creates a perfect little microclimate to incubate microbial growth. So that's the gist of that. It basically creates a very good soil medium that is very good for helping plants grow. So that was our compost pile. Again, everything we're doing in this area is about soil remediation. So I'll take you over here. This little setup here is actually our biochar station. This is another thing that we used a lot this summer as far as helping to remediate the soil in our land. With biochar, just a very quick tidbit on that. Biochar is basically a very good carbon-rich material that's really good at building soil fertility. It helps with nutrient leaching, water retention, and it acts as a carbon sink. So we've been making lots and lots of biochar. It's basically a controlled fire that lacks oxygen, and so it creates a slow burn. It chars the carbon-rich material, something like rice husk. So something like this rice husk would be what we start with. We basically create a controlled fire. It burns slowly from the inside out, and that's how we get our biochar. So we added biochar to a lot of our different systems this summer, especially in the food forest, which I'll show you later. So that's just kind of how this works. And then if you come over here, these are our biofertilizers. We have a couple different kinds that we've been trying out here. Basically, the gist of biofertilizers is we are using a process of fermentation where we're taking, again, raw organic materials, things like bananas, banana stalks, papaya. We use a certain weed out here called Sapsua, and we take those different ingredients, we add some sugar and a little bit of water, and we allow it to ferment with limited oxygen. What that does is it allows the microbes to propagate, and they basically eat up that material, they unlock the nutrients within it, they release all the herbal hormones, all that kind of stuff, and we use that, we dilute it with water, and we spray it on our plants, and it helps them grow quite a bit. So we have the Sapsua EM, we have papaya EM, banana EM, we have a natural insecticide with garlic, chili, lemongrass, and mung bean powder. We have an all-encompassing biofertilizer that's got all kinds of different stuff in it. And then we also have a fish fertilizer. I'm going to show you some examples in the food forest here in a little bit. But that's been a real game changer this year. Fish essentially have up to 60 different elements in them, and so they're very, very effective as far as being a very nutrient-rich fertilizer for your plants. So that's what we got in this bin here. Again, very, very easy to make. It's just 1 part fish, 1 part sugar. You let that ferment for 2 to 3 weeks. You add it with some water, you spray it on your plants, just like that. So that's biofertilizers. You got biofertilizers, biochar, compost. And if you come over here, one of my favorite systems, this area is our nursery. Now we also obviously have some baby plants there that are growing. Those will be transplanted out later this summer. But as far as what we have going on here, this is essentially a vermicomposting system. So shout out to my guy Bo for showing me this one. But basically the way this works is all these tanks are filled with pig manure, and we've created a piping system that allows us to water this pile of pig manure. That water drains through this piping system, and it'll actually drain into this once we put the little pipe back on, and that'll create a worm leachate. What's in these tanks is African night crawlers. So essentially the way it works is, again, that raw organic material, that pig manure, is going to be eaten up by those worms. They're detritivores, so they actually eat organic waste. When they process that, it comes out with a lot more surface area. It's very, very nutrient rich. It's loaded with microbes, and so we take that, we can harvest that vermicompost, and we can also use that to spray on our plants. Another cool thing about that, again, integrating systems and reducing waste, is that the kids that go to school here at Nungua School can actually take their food scraps and they can bury it into these vermicomposting systems, and the worms will actually eat that up, and they'll recycle that, and that will help add to the nutritional profile of what's in this vermicompost. That's one of the best things about this vermicompost in comparison to that big pile of compost. That big pile of compost is just straw, rice husks, and cow manure. And so the nutritional profile of that compost is just those three ingredients. With something like vermicompost, not only because of what the worms do, but also because of the large diversity of food that you're using, there's a much more diversified nutritional profile in the compost here, so it's even better for helping your plants grow. So we got the vermicomposting, we have the worm leachate plumbing system here, so they can use that as well. Again, baby plants there. If you follow me this way, this is our mushroom house. Actually, what we're trying right now, again, it's all about learning by doing. We're trying to grow some ivy gourd right here because it can tolerate some shade. The thing about it is that it's obviously in a very tough spot for it to get a whole lot of sunlight. The idea is that we're going to put like a trellis system on this mushroom house to just make it look more aesthetically appealing. But we've got over 500 bags of mushrooms in here, and they'll eat those mushrooms. Whenever the bags are completely used, they can recycle the bags and actually use it for compost substrate. So again, just kind of closing the loop, recycling the materials. Yeah. And then right over here, this is our frog tank area. There's over 500 frogs in here. I see a dead one. But again, this is another very important part of the nutritional makeup of the food that the kids eat at school here. This is a very good protein source for them. So they eat lots and lots of frogs. Go, go. So that's that. And then if you want to actually follow me back up to the top of the plot, I'll kind of explain what's going on in this entire area. This is kind of like our zone 2. So just follow me back up here. Feel free to meander out there. Got banana trees all along here. As far as the different vegetables that we're growing throughout this entire area, again, there is a lot. So there's cowpea, there's lettuce, there's morning glory, there's pak choy, there's cabbage, there's bunching onion, red onion, garlic, chives, basil. Did I say cowpea already? Yeah, there's cowpea, ginger, turmeric. There's long bean. There's a different kind of green bean. There's, I said morning glory already. There's carrots. There's white radish. There's over 25 different kinds of vegetables growing throughout these garden beds, and there's about 69 garden beds in total. So lots and lots of food being produced here now. Oh yeah. Follow me up this way. Quick shout out to Pete. Something that he did this summer that was very, very helpful for us is he transplanted out all kinds of lemongrass that act as a natural insecticide for pest management. So there's lemongrass pretty much throughout our entire garden bed area, all throughout the perimeter. So more banana trees. There's also cucumber in here. There's corn lining most of the garden beds as well. That's another traditional technique that I've seen a lot out.